Hi everybody, it's Laura from Laura Cully Hypnotherapy. So today I'm talking about how to manage anxiety and depression at work. So in 2018, the Labour Force survey reported 602,000 workers were suffering from work-related stress, depression or anxiety in the UK. And I put a figure up in the top of this that 5.2 billion pounds a year, and that's a conservative estimate. That's what's lost because stress is a cause of absence. So basically it's costing 5.2 billion a year with people going off with work-related stress. So what on earth is going wrong? Because it feels like we have moved forward in this in a little bit of a way, in that we do talk more about mental health now, but obviously not enough. So what's happening? What's going wrong? So I think that one of the things is that we're just working harder and harder trying to keep up with everything. And if you think that, we have our phones with us all the time, so you might have that phone with you while you're at work, and then you're taking your phone home and you're getting emails from work. It might be the phone that you take phone calls on at work, or even, with laptops and tablets, we're carrying them around with us. So we're not leaving that stuff in the office, we're taking it with us. And even if it's not a conscious thing, even if we make the effort not to check our emails in the evening or take phone calls, we've still got that phone there with us. It's like we're never really getting away from the office. And do you even take your phone to bed? Is it sitting in your bedroom all night? And people are finding it difficult to sleep, or they're waking in the night worrying about work. And I think it's just the fact that we're finding it really hard to switch off. So I don't think that's helping. And we talk about the work-life balance, don't we? And how important it is to have this balance, which is all very well if your life is going really well and you're taking that time to go off and do other things and have fun and relax. But life, as we know, is not always like that. And there could be things going on at home, bereavement, separation, divorce. There could be family problems, illness at home. And of course, so things aren't always great. So even when we've got that work-life balance, it's not necessarily that the stress is caused at work. It could be things at home causing that. But obviously you're going to take that into work as well. And I think at the moment, I'm talking to a lot of people who are really anxious about going back to work. I know a lot of people already are going back, perhaps part-time, but things are very different. They're, maybe having to work, in different circumstances with social distancing. There may be fewer people in the office, so they feel that they're having to take on, they're having to do more, they're having to do the work of 5 people, and I've heard that quite a lot. With other people being furloughed, it's been happening over lockdown where other people have carried on and they're having to do the work of other people as well. So people are really feeling that stress, and also just the anxiety of going back and with things being very different. My brother put it as, it's like going back to school after the holidays. You feel that sense of anticipation and anxiety, and you know that things aren't going to be exactly the same as they were before. So you've got all these new things to deal with. And we don't really talk about it enough, do we? We don't like to tell people when we're feeling anxious. We put on this brave face, and we might tell people if we're physically ill, and it seems that that's acceptable, if we've got aches and pains, but we very rarely actually talk about how we're feeling. And if we are feeling stressed and anxious, it tends to be something that we just kind of push down and we try and get on with it. So what happens when people get stressed? Well, whether it's from home, from work, they start to feel that stress. It can lead to anxiety, it can lead on to depression, it can lead to behavioural changes. So, you might find if you're feeling very stressed or anxious that you're drinking or smoking more, you're even turning to drugs, trying to find ways of calming yourself down and relaxing so that you can sleep, so that you feel you can cope. And of course, we know that those things don't work, but we try these things out of desperation. You might find that you're getting aches and pains, that you're getting headaches or upset stomachs, things like that. And I think with that, the quotes that have been given, as far as the money is concerned, they are conservative, because a lot of the time these things are caused by stress, but actually people might be signed off with physical illnesses, whereas behind that actually it started with stress and anxiety. So you're getting more aches and pains, just not feeling right. And of course things build up and build up, and people keep trying, they keep going until they just can't anymore. And it gets to that point where they just can't even face going into work. It just becomes too much. And at that point they may just phone in sick, they may go and talk to the manager, and of course then they get sent to the doctors. So what does your GP do? Well, I know, because I'm talking about the UK here, it's very little. I think there's very little that they can do, and I think they are really struggling. So what tends to happen is they'll sign you off work for a week or two, come back, we'll see how you feel. If you need it, we'll just sign you off for longer. They might put you on antidepressants, but none of this really gets to the underlying problem. I won't go on about the antidepressant debate because that's a whole different topic, but I don't feel that that is really the answer. But I do understand, the GP's situation. They might refer you for therapy, but even that, and this again, these were figures from last year, the best case scenario is 6 weeks, so it's a 6-week waiting list. So you're going to be off for 6 weeks waiting for therapy, and in a lot of places it was actually 2 years. So you'd have a 2-year wait before you were sent for cognitive behavioural therapy or some kind of counselling. And of course, at the moment, with the way things are, I'm sure that it could be a lot longer than that now. So I have no idea what it is at the moment. But obviously these people then are going to be off work. So it means that as an employer, then you are going to have to be obviously paying sick leave, getting somebody else in. So what can we do? How can we stop this happening? How can we stop it getting to that stage? And we're very quick to be very, very careful about physical health. You'd never put your staff in any physical danger. And you teach people how to lift and how to stay physically safe. But are you teaching them how to stay mentally healthy? And I still don't think that we're doing enough. So, things that you could be doing, teaching meditation, just giving people that time, even just once a week, just teaching people to meditate and to relax so they've got that time to calm down. To clear their heads. It just makes people so much more productive in the long run. Even teaching things like mindfulness, just keep bringing yourself back to the present moment. So if you're worrying about future all the time, just keep coming back. There's so much that we can learn to do, but it's just not taught. Things like looking at our thoughts, looking at the way thoughts and behaviour and the way we're feeling, looking at how all these things link in together, and that if you change one, you can start to change the others. And I just don't feel that we're taught this. And it's when I work with my clients and start to talk about this, they've never heard this before, and it's really eye-opening. And it's these cognitive distortions, as we call them, things like catastrophizing about the future, telling ourselves all these scary stories, worrying about things, seeing things as one way or the other in that kind of black and white way. People don't even think about it, so they don't recognise that they're doing it. There's such simple things that we can teach people. Having a therapist on hand or a counsellor or somebody that they can go and talk to. So it just becomes part of the culture that, if you have got problems, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, there's somebody there that you can just go and talk to, and it just becomes the norm, that it's fine to go and do that. So we see things like, practical things, making sure that people are taking regular breaks, and that we're, keeping an eye on that whether it's the employer that's doing that, whether we're just looking out for colleagues. If you notice people are working through their breaks and they're starting to feel overwhelmed, just being aware of that, talking to them, what can we do to support each other if that is happening? Are they taking work home? Are they working through weekends? And just supporting each other, just, making the work culture, it's somewhere that you can actually talk, that you can open up, I think is so important. Because employees do have an obligation to look after physical and mental well-being. It's really, really important. So, as an employer, do you encourage people to talk? If you're, an employee, do you feel that there is that open door policy, that if you do start to struggle, you start to recognise those signs, that you can just go and talk to somebody? And if you do notice that one of your colleagues or one of your staff is perhaps a bit more snappy than usual, don't just get offended by it. If you think, well, that's not them, that's not usually how they are, actually do ask them if they're okay, because becoming stressed and snappy is often a sign that there is some kind of anxiety going on there, especially if they're not usually like that. If somebody's a bit tearful, You know, ask them, are they okay? Just get them talking, get them to open up a little bit. If somebody's turning up late for work every day when they don't usually, or you know, turning up late for meetings, find out what's going on, because it could be some kind of underlying stress or anxiety going on there. And you know, looking at what you can do before it gets to the stage where they're actually signed off work, because it's no good for anybody. I've been in that situation. I was signed off for a long time with stress, anxiety, you know, it led to physical problems, and it's awful. You completely lose your confidence. It's very, very difficult to go back to work, especially if you're signed off for a long time. So obviously it's no good for the person that signed off. It's definitely no good for the company. So, you know, what can you do to stop it from getting to that stage? So maybe offering flexible working hours, especially if there are problems going on at home. Could they work from home part-time, so that, you know, just taking that bit of stress away, you know, just getting them talking. So I think the main message really from this, and you're managing anxiety and depression, is just that we have to get rid of this stiff upper lip culture that we have of, you know, this stigma of talking about mental health, and, you know, encouraging people to talk about it. So that's really my main message from this, is just, you know, making it so that people feel comfortable talking about it, and think about what we can do in the workplace to actually support people, you know, not just their physical health but their mental health too. So have a really good day, have a good week, and I will be back to speak to you. Thank you very much for listening, and just look after each other.